Hi again. So today in front of me I've got two boxes. These are both tube testers, manufactured by Hickok, or Hickok, depending on how you want to pronounce it. That one's a 539B, and that's a 539C. Now the 539C is kind of the premium model of these testers, and I think Hickok's a pretty well-known brand. There are a couple other ones that make tube testers, but this is kind of like a top-of-the-line. It tests just about everything you need to test. And these things are really heavy. They're about 20 pounds. You try to pick this up, but yeah, quite heavy. Lots of knobs and lots of sockets. Like you see up here, I've got a tube in the socket on here, and also lots of high voltage. So if you plug a cord into the plate, which they're in the little hole over there, you can pull it out later. But very high voltage. Keep your fingers away. And I've done kind of like an intro to me trying to figure this thing out in a previous video, perhaps a future video. I don't know when it's going to be released. But that was me reading through the manuals in the back here. And you can see there's a pile of old papers, and you try not to break them. Alright, here's the manuals, and you read through those and you kind of get a sense of how they work. Or if not, just kind of guess and you'll figure it out. So today the goal is, I've got 3 tubes. I've tested one in the previous video, but I only tested on a 539C. So I want to see how that compares on the B model, and whether or not they're the same reading or not, and see if I can actually use these tubes for something in the future. So here we go. I'm going to start with some of the tests on the C first. I'm going to see if I can replicate that, because that test was done yesterday. So I'll see if I can replicate the results on the C, and then I'll do it on the B. And I'll do for all 3 tubes, and I'll record the results for that because I'm going to forget. And then I'll try maybe some rectifier tubes and also like a voltage regulator tube that these can also do, which I did not do in the previous video. So how about I'll go through the knobs one more time, kind of differences. Alright, so the B model here is a little bit older, and I think I like how this looks a little bit better because it's got the metal grooves here that are not present on the new model, and these are actually really nice decoration. They're not stickered on or anything. They're actually, I think, machined into the case here, or this top plate at least. So that's a nice level of detail that you don't see anymore with more modern products. I think this was something like the 1960s. This must have been made. We've got these big bulbs here, and the fuse here, as I discovered, is actually like a light bulb, so it'll light up if something goes wrong. These selectors are my favorite because there's, see that window right there? You can twist the knob and your letter is going to show up. So that's the thing with this one. There's a roller down here of kind of specs that you've got a minimum. I figured out that MUTCON is mutual conductance, as in GM, which this thing tests for. And it's got a couple selection letters here. So we've got, for the middle, ET 1567-2, and so you would punch in ET15672 on those knobs up there, right? And with this one, you can really easily read it. It's ET15672, right? You can just read it off the windows. But if you move over to the C model, well, you've got these like printed labels here, so you would have to kind of figure out where this points, read that point, figure out where this points, read that, and then go down the line. So the B model is actually much more convenient, but I can see how this can be cheaper to produce. So that's one of the differences here. This is also, you know, see this metal work there is missing over here. There's a little bit down here, but I do like that one better. The tube setup here is a little bit different. It looks like I've got the 6AU6 in kind of the top right corner over here, and over here it's kind of just in the middle section. But I think from a quick look that all the tubes available here are available here. Maybe. Yeah, it looks like there's one more somewhere here. But yeah, regardless, I'm not going to be doing any of those tubes because I've got one that fits in both, and that's that. These things, these risers are socket saver things, so if you don't want to plug stuff in and out of the original socket, you can have a little extender here, then you just plug stuff in and out of this, and when this wears out, you toss it and replace it. Right, so that's kind of how that works. And oh, there's some labels down here that maybe read. No, it won't focus. Alright, that's alright. So we've got some knobs and meters here. These are apparently produced in-house by Hickok, and they're supposed to be precision calibrated according to the manual. So, you know, a little bit of either marketing, or it could be true, because I think meters are pretty much meters. And yeah, so that's pretty much the differences between the two. The power cords come out of different places, I guess. This one's kind of on the top, which is kind of awkward. And that one comes out of the back over there, which might be nicer. By the way, I realized that these lids you can take off. These are sliding hinges, so you can slide the hinge out towards the side, and then you can lift the entire lid off. I think it's easier in this one. Right, you can slide it out like that, and you can take the lid off. But regardless, I've got it balanced on the light. So the light is kind of keeping the lid from closing, and we're all good there. So let's go ahead and power on this 539C first, and then I'll run through the test I was doing yesterday. I'm going to skip the gas test because that just messes with all the settings here, and you got to set everything back to where it was. So here we go. I'm going to turn that on. The power light comes on, and we're reading the power voltage. So we're testing everything at 100 volts, right? So that's that line right there. Oh, you can't see it. Alright. And so what I'll do first is I'll tweak this knob to get that line on about 100 volts. And this might drift around a little bit as it warms up, but that'll be fine. So what you do to set this up is not hard. You look, well, not for the 6L6, but for the 6AU6. And I checked this yesterday. These readings here are actually the same as the 538, and I've got this one set up already. So it's filament 6.3 volts. So we go over to the filament knob, and we find 6.3 volts, which it's already on. And then we go ET1567 2. So we go ET6 7 2. Alright, and that sets everything up like that. And next here we've got bias volts 1.0. So we go up to the bias meter, and we are just a little bit low on that 1.0. It depends what angle you look at it, of course, but I'd call that good enough. That's 1.0. Shunt is left at nothing, so I don't think it matters. We've got press P4 to test. C, so we got to be on band C to test this. And this number apparently comes from the manual, and it essentially tells you the expected transconductance, which is what the meter up here measures. It's measured in micromoles, and that's, well, ohms spelled backwards. So we're on the 6,000 scale, so we will look at the second line down, just like that. And the minimum mutual conductance here is 2,500. So we're looking for a reading of at least 2,500 for this to be a good tube. Alright? So the first test, as I've learned from the manual, is you have to do a shorts test. So that means vacuum tubes, inside they've got a couple of plates and pieces of metal that are supposed to be separate. And if they're touching, well, then you're going to have a short, and the tube tester is not going to be very happy about dumping current into a short. So, yeah, especially at, 100 volts here. So what we do is we test for each position, whether there's a short between any combination of pins, and depending on which combinations are shorted, you can figure out which contacts that are shorted on the tube. And if it's shorted, this short light should light up. So if we just go through, just like that, the short light stays off, so we're good. On the other side of this is apparently the leakage test. So, maybe the plates are still pretty far apart, but if they start coming closer, you might get leakage going through. And so you want to read this on that meter, and if if the needle kind of goes wonky, then you've got some leakage going on. But I think for the most part you're expecting this needle to stay solid and not moving. So here we go. A, B, C, D, E. And if you watched the other video, you would see the mistake I made and what that caused the meter to do. You can watch that in the video where I actually went through the manual. It's a much longer video, but I think that was entertaining. Alright, so we've gone through these tests, and now the manual, the next section usually says you do the gas test, but then you go about and muck around with all the readings here and change all the meters and dials, and then you just gotta change it back later, so let's just not bother with that. If you want to see the gas tests, that one tested good. You can watch the other video. So there's still some mystery knobs. I don't know what this one does. Yeah. Alright, so now that we've got the bias set properly, what we have to do is now test the actual transconductance. And transconductance, or mutual conductance, tells us the change in a current divided by the change in another current. And in transistors, like BJTs, there'll be change in the collector current. That's where the high voltage goes in, over the change in the base. So the control signal goes in there on the side. So you've got change in collector over change in base. Here, though, if you look at the manual, it'll tell you it's delta P over delta G. And delta P is for plate. So maybe we can find the plate. So delta P is for delta plate current over delta G, or delta grid current. Right? So that's what this tests for, and it's kind of a measure for how well this amplifies a current. And to do that is actually quite simple. All you gotta do is press this P4 as indicated on the scale here, P4. So we've got two options for P4. One is non-locking and one is locking. So the locking one, literally you press it down and it locks in and the meter moves. And the non-locking one, you kind of hold down the button. They do the same function apparently, but yeah. So what I'll do is now I'll lock this in, and I'll let you watch the meter. So here we go. Ooh, that light's not very good. Let me turn the light off. And now you can't see it at all. Oh, maybe you can. Okay, that's good. So I'll hit lock on P4, and that needle jumps up to, we're looking at the second scale, so 3,600-ish, maybe? I don't know. But, yeah, about 3,600 mo's. Alright, so I'll turn that off. So that's with the 6,000 scale, because I've got this knob set at 6,000. So 3,600 or so is definitely above the 2,500 here for the minimum for this particular tube, 6AU6. And if you pull up the data sheet, I think it says that a spec for 3,900. So that means that this tube here has kind of dropped off from 3,900 up to 3,600. But of course, there's also the question of whether this meter is still in good condition, or if it's still accurate, right? So if it reads somewhere in the range, I think I'm pretty happy with that. And so now what I'll do is I'll take the same tube, and I haven't done this yet, but I'll test this meter here and see if it agrees. So I'll take that, I'll come over here and put it in the socket, which is in a different place. Alright, so now what I'll do is I'll turn this one on. Light comes on. Alright, everything looks good. Our voltage is also on the test line, which is about 100 volts. And we have to set that to 1 volt, so I'll tweak that. Whoop, a little bit too low. Oh, this control is a little bit weird. I'm turning it, and it jumps around. See that? I'm turning it one way, the meter jumps around just a little bit, so, yeah, this one may not be the best meter. And you can see the dirt kind of covering the surface here, but we're not at 1 volt. Oh, it's going to jump around like crazy, because we probably have dirty contacts on this knob, so I'll do my best to get it just about, yeah, I think that's as close as you're going to get to 1 volt. Alright, and let's double check that we're on 6.3 filament. Well, I should have done that before we turned it on, I suppose. ET1567, ET1567, 2. It's really nice how you can just read it off the top right there. So again, same deal. We already ran through the short test, so I won't do that again. And what I'll do is I'll just hit P4, and let's watch the meter on this one. Alright, so that reads, oh, is that bang on 3,000? It's almost exactly 3,000 micromoles. So this meter reads a little bit lower than the other meter, and yeah, I don't like this meter right now because this knob wasn't very good and it looks a little bit crusty and stuff. So maybe this meter is not as good as the other meter because the other meter read a higher reading, and that's good for our tubes, and I like that. So I'll just take that meter over there as kind of the true value of these tubes. Alright, so that's it with this meter, I guess, because, well, if it doesn't work that well, and with the tweaky knob over there, in fact, look at that, that's jumped up now to over a volt. So, this meter probably needs a little bit of restoration work done on it, so let's just turn that off, and, by the way, this tube, oh yeah, it's kind of hot. It says also EF94. Let's see that. First, we'll put on their light, maybe you can see a little bit better. It's EF94, which is the European code for this same tube, and it's the same deal. Right. So this is actually quite warm right now. But yeah, this one is made by. It looks to me like IE something. IEC. I think I said IEC before. Maybe it's IEE. Who knows? Or maybe it's this brand here. BI something VAN. I don't know. But it's a tube and it appears to work. So I'll put this one aside because this one tests good. I'll actually just put it right here for now. Alright? And I'll go ahead and test the other two tubes in the same manner on this meter over here. Alright, this is for the GE tube P4. We are over at 3,780 maybe? 3,780? So that's still pretty good. I think that's better than the other two I tested. And I'll put the last one in. It says International 6AU6A. So it's got an A on there. I don't know if that's spec'd differently, but put that in the tester. Give it a couple seconds to warm up. The spec sheet says 11-second warm-up is going to be good enough for these tubes. So, as we wait for it to warm up, we can test the shorts. Right, and then the leakage. All good. So it's definitely been about 11 seconds now, and here we go on the meter. Oh wow, that's way past 4,000. So that one's 4,400. Yeah, 4,400. So this is actually the best tube at a lot. Right, it's got the most transconductance. So, alright, that's the results for all three tubes. Maybe if we let it warm up, it'll do something different, but we just know these tubes are working, and that's all I care about. So, now, we can try to play with some bigger tubes, or we can play with some rectifier tubes. So let me pick some, and we can go over those. Alright, so I found some tubes here in the room. These are a different type of tubes. These are not pentodes. These are 5U4GBs. GB for a glass bulb, as you can see. A big glass bulb. 5U4s are rectifier tubes. They can handle a maximum of 1,550 volts to be rectified, and I think up to an amp or something. I'll pop the data sheet up on the screen. And here's the box. There's completely new tubes, so this better test good. Right, New Jersey, RCA, made in the USA. Radiotron. Alright, so the settings for this one is a little bit different. In fact, we get to play with a new knob. Right, so we've got 5U4, and interestingly, there are two different settings here, 5U4. See that one there, and there's one on top of that. Perhaps we're going to do both. I don't know. But I've set the switches here to the second one, so JS04000087 shunt. And that's the new knob we can play with. Oh, that's reflecting. That's 84 shunt. So that's set up to 84. Right, whoop, there it goes. 84. Something like that. And then we're pressing P3. G. What's G? We're going to be in range G. So we want to be here in diode's rectifier section. And we don't have a minimum music conductor because it's not doing that. So we got a star. Oh, we can't see that, yeah. And then we got a plate number 2 is being tested and plate number 1 is being tested. So maybe there's 2 sections in the tube, I don't know, but I suppose we can do both. So this one is one of these sockets with missing pins, but the center post, okay, let me turn the light, okay, there we go. The center post has a little key on there, and you can see that right here. So this only fits in one way into these sockets, and this fits into this socket because it's the only one that'll take it like that. So that goes in just like that. And what I'll do is I'll turn this thing on, make sure everything is set up properly. Yep, filament's at 5 volts, so I changed that from 6.3 already. That's good. And I don't think the bias voltage matters because we're set at 0. I turn this knob fully counterclockwise. It says 0 right there. And we're good to go. Whoop, fuse came on. Alright, so I tested the same tube in the other tester here, and the same deal happened where the fuse kind of glowed. But, you know, I tried it again, and here's what happens. The fuse comes on, and then it kind of dies away. So, I think it's okay for that to do that. Maybe not, but I think that's okay. So, I'll still go through the short tests, and everything looks okay. That light didn't come on, and we'll go the other way. So, watch A. When you go with A, it goes right up to the top, and apparently that's normal, and that's what this thingamabob on the side of this plate number 1, plate number 2 is supposed to signify is that on band A, you're going to get a reading that's full scale, or short. And that was not included with my manual. I had to look that up online, so there's that. So C, D, E, all looks good. Alright, and now what we do is we press P3, and here we go, P3, and it swings right above to here, and it's past the rectifier's diode OK kind of section, and I got the light on there again, so I'll do that once more. Alright, and so I think that means this tube is good. And that's it for the rectifier test. All we're checking is that the meter goes past that certain point. And we've got the fuse here still glowing, and I'll turn off the light. Maybe you can see that a bit better. Perhaps. But yeah, that's that for rectifier tubes. Alright, in an effort to go through as many switches as I possibly can, here's the life test, which tests the life of tubes. So what I've got here is I put back the 6AU6, the worst one, in there, and I've gone and set up all the switches as necessary for the 6AU6 again. And by the way, the rectifier tube, I didn't test the other section of it, but that's alright. I did that on the other meter. So if the mutual conductance drops more than 20%, we know it's not very good and it won't last very long. And it does this by reducing the filament voltage by 10%. So what we're supposed to do is do the regular GM measurement. So I'll come over here. I'll move this a little bit back. I'll hit P4. Okay. The value now is 3,500-ish. Right. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to flip the switch here to the test position, and it still stays roughly around. Ooh, it's dropping. So I'll flip switch back. Yeah, barely done anything. It moved a little bit. So that looks alright to me. Right. So that barely dropped any, which is surprising. So I'll see if the other two tubes do anything different here. So I'll just switch this out. Here's the GE tube. We'll plug that in the right way. Turn that back on. Alright, here we go. I'm going to press P4. Oh. Meter apparently needs a little bit of time to warm up, but P4. Test. Oh, that meter barely moved. Right, so that barely moved, and I'm back in test mode. Normal, that barely moved, so I think that one's good as well. So that's got a good amount of life left, apparently. And, let's see, I'll go ahead and put in the last tube, which is the tube that had the highest transconductance. And here we go again. So hit P4, there we go. Meter goes right up to like 4,000. And I'll hit the switch, and that barely moves. Alright. So I think that's pretty conclusive that these tubes, these 6AU6s are good tubes. So we've done these pentodes, we've done rectifier tubes. Let's see if I can find some voltage regulator tubes, or maybe just a larger amplifier tube, and then we'll play around with that a little bit. Alright, so it turns out I don't have any voltage regulator tubes, but I do have a 6L6. This one's from Sylvania, made in the USA, and I could put this in the same socket as the one that went for the rectifier tube, and it only fits one way because there's the key on the bottom of it. So what I'll do is I'll turn it on. I've already got the switches set up properly, I think, so we're at 6.3 volts. Alright, let's see that. So we've got HS5348, so we've got HS5348-1, alright? And we want to set the bias voltage now to 3 volts, not 8, 3 volts. We're pressing P4 again on range C. Alright, so here we go. I'll go power on. That needle bounces around a little bit, but the fuse light is also glowing kind of dimly, same as last time. I think that's alright, so I'll tweak the bias voltage up to 3 volts. And there we go, 3 volts. And now we go through this whole shorts business, so watch the short lamp. Alright. Okay, now we watch the meter to see if it deflects. Oh, okay, see, there we go, that goes up a little bit. So there's, on the A range, it goes up to about here or so, and if we take a look at the leakage scale, that's I went up to 2M, so a little bit past 2M, so about 2 megohms or so of leakage on setting A. And now I think we can actually take a look at setting A. Is it one of these? Yeah, leakage. Heater cathode leakage. I don't think it tells you which is which. Oh, no. Here we go. Operating. Turning the shorts to A, B, C, D, E. A heater. Star. There's a star. Note position A includes heater cathode leakage and tubes having filamentary cathodes. The heater and cathode are identical, therefore a meter will normally indicate near zero mark on position A of the short switch. That's not what's happening, so maybe something's wrong over here, but we've got maybe a leaky tube, question mark. Let's see if we can find a different tube and see if that leakage thing does the same thing. So let's pull out another 6L6, and this one is by GE. Again, made in the USA. And same settings, so I don't want to deal with that again. And go to the other side. See, okay, so A, this one stayed pretty still. That one didn't move. B, C, D, E. So this one, I think it's going to be better than this one, and I'll take a label and label it leaky, whatever that was leaky, and there we have it. The first use for the meter, show something wrong. On here, so we go P4, and that needle goes to, what is that, 2,000, oh, we're in the 15,000 range, so, yeah, that is over 6,000 something, so that's, wow, because this only indicates 3,300 for 6L6, and that's going off to, oh, 5,700 or so for GM, so that appears to be a pretty strong tube, if you ask me. And I guess, oh, we should try the life test as well, I suppose. So we go P4, watch the needle rise. I'll flip the switch, and it barely goes anywhere. Yeah, so I think this is a good tube. Alright, so I think that's all I wanted to do for this video. I've tested these 3 tubes, which is pretty much all I wanted to do in the first place. And as a bonus, I've tested also that tube, which was faulty, and a whole ton of other 6L6s, and also a rectifier tube that worked. So that's it for this video. I will see you in the next video.